Welcome back. I'm Jen. I'm a conscious parenting coach. I work with queer, neurodivergent, and non monogamous families to find the joy in parenting outside the box. And if you have been around, you saw that we recorded a video about if you are polyamorous or ethically non monogamous, should you come out to your kids? And a lot of considerations in that to help you make that decision. And today we're talking about if you have decided that you are not going to share the fact that you are non monogamous with your children. What does that mean for what you do need to tell them and for how you arrange that in your life? So I'm talking to Caroline, and do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Caroline Lee. I'm a licensed therapist in the state of Colorado, and I specialize in sex therapy and trauma therapy. I work with the E&M community all the time, and as well as conduct independent research into the role of the hinge partner within polyamory.
And we're going to be diving into all kinds of stuff about hinging. So
Yeah.
stick with us. So for today, if you've decided that you're not going to come out as polyamorous or ethically non-monogamous to your kids, and I see this with people who are newly opening up a relationship or considering opening up a relationship where the expectation is that the external relationships are going to be primarily sexual, and that's not information they want to share with their kids. And maybe they want to preserve the sense for the children that this is um, a traditional family with two parents. So you're going to be going places that you're not going to tell them what you're doing. And what do you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. I think like before even getting to like the how to or the logistics behind that, I think that part of it is to just acknowledge that like there are going to be parents who feel conflicted about lying by omission, by like not telling their kids outright about what's going on. And I like would encourage parents to keep in mind that like you said, like there are certain aspects of being an adult that our children really shouldn't be privy to, particularly depending on their age, right? Like what you explain to like a 5 or 6 year old is going to sound different than what you explain to a 16 or 17-year old. So that being said, I think just acknowledging that that anxiety might come up. And I think talking together, like within that parenting dyad, about how do we want to explain this? How do we want to explain where we're going? So I think one of those ways is simply by just saying that, like, you know, parent is running out to go meet up with some friends. I would assume that in many of these dynamics, regardless of where you are in the E&M spectrum, some of these people might actually be friends, right? Whether you're swinging, maybe it's a polycule that you belong to that is outside of your dyad, right? And so like there's some quality of friendship that's probably present there. And so I think that being able to turn to that and talking about, oh, I'm just going to go see some friends. I'm going to spend quality time with friends. And, I think one of the things that's really beautiful that as parents we can bring to our kids when talking about that is what are you getting out of this time with these people? How is this nourishing for you? And like, how much does this make you a better parent? Right. Like, I know that for me, like, there are certain friend groups that when I spend time with them, like, I feel like my cup is nourished. I feel overfilled, right? Almost to some extent. And I get to bring that back to my kids. I get to bring that to them and pour that love back into them. And so maybe those conversations with your kids sound like, oh yeah, and I just spent that time with, that group of friends, that community of mine. And, I just always feel so loved and cared for and really supported, right? Those words that we want our children to seek out in relationships anyway. And so by giving that information to them, we're able to like provide them with an understanding that like, oh, exists in adulthood. Like this is a thing that I can have at some point in my future. Do they need to know that it's in a polyamorous dynamic or it's like a swinging community? No, they don't need to know that, particularly if what you've chosen is for them to not know it. But giving them the insight into like what you're actually getting out of it, I think that's a beautiful thing to give to your kids.
One of the things that I think about is, if I'm leaving the house, leaving my kids with a partner to go to a dance class or a
Hmm.
painting class or something along those lines, I'm I probably would tell my kids I'm going to a dance class or something like
Right.
that. But if my kid protests and says, "Don't go, I wish you were here to read
Mm.
my bedtime story," or whatever the thing is, it's for most of us going to be pretty easy to say, you know what, this is the thing that fills my cup so that I can be present with you all the rest of the time. And we want to model that like it's important for me to be important to myself
Hmm.
and to be taking care of myself. And I think that one of the places where people get a little hung up, and this gets into the, sex ed and sex positivity part of this, that if the thing that's being filled is a sexual need primarily, then we
Hmm.
feel like, oh, I'm not supposed to have that. So I should like feel bad, or I should put that on the back
Mm,
burner. Or, you know, what can I tell my child about this? Because I'm not going to say, oh, I'm going to go have sex with that person
right.
to a child because that would be inappropriate.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I love this, considering what are the things that you want your child to know are fulfilling, and that you are taking your own needs as important, the
Hmm.
same way that you would share why it's valuable for you to go to something else that nourishes and nurtures you on a
Yeah.
human level.
Yeah. Well, and I think that like I love this example though of like if we're going out and it's like a purely sexual experience. Well, we're not going to tell our kid, look, I just needed like 5 orgasms, okay, so I could just feel better, right? Like it's not that's not the language we're going to use. But like, but what do those 5 orgasms do for you though? I feel so much more relaxed. I feel so much more confident in myself. And so those are the things that you can relate to the child, right? I just spent some quality time with a friend of mine, and I just that kind of quality time makes me feel better about myself. Right. And I think you hit on something super important, which is this idea that like we're presenting this model to our kids that we are, as an individual, I am important to myself. And so I build in this time to take care of myself. And I will even go a step further with it too, in the sense of like, for so many individuals who are raised as females, that sexual need component can really be obliterated, whether that's strictly because of gender norms around being a female or because of that element of what happens whenever you actually have a child. And there's this weird's not the right word, this really inappropriate thing that we do, which is sort of like we desexualize the mother, we desexualize the female parent. And so I can see even more of a quagmire there for female identifying parents who might really struggle with the fact that what they really need is to get that sexual need met, and how that just really bumps up against the entire role of being a female parent.
Yeah, it's really important. And
Hmm.
ideally, if somebody is starting to consider these things before they've actually opened up the relationship, and they're considering, how are they going to talk to their kids, or what is going to be the impact on their kids,
Hmm.
then this is something we're going to circle back to in future videos as well, but is about reclaiming that sense of your own identity and your own needs, and what is it that you are looking for out of this, not just how is
Yeah.
it going to affect your children, but what is it
Mhm.
going to do for you? How is it going to affect you? And
Yeah.
also holding in mind, and whatever words you say to your children, holding in mind that if you are a happier and more fulfilled person, you are a better parent.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
All
I
right,
love
so
that a lot.
I think we'll leave it there, and we'll be
Okay.
back and we'll talk about more of how this shows up for parents.